Hey everybody, and welcome to the Star Podcast at AAERT in St. Louis. I am Deanna Oakes, and this is Janet Harris, the president of AAERT. Welcome, Janet. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks, Deanna. I'm really glad that you guys are here.
Yeah, we are so happy to be here. Thank you for having us.
You're making us look really fancy.
It feels very luxurious to be in these lights, and it feels like a fun experience.
I'm hoping for all kinds of special filters, too.
Yeah, right? Gus back there will just make us look like super tan, you know?
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about you. You have an amazing history in this business and in lots of different roles. You've worn a ton of different hats. So why don't you get us started and tell us a little bit about how you got here and what you do?
Well, I started out right after high school. You know, everybody had to choose a career, and we went to our guidance counselor's office before you could get your certificate or, your diploma.
Yeah.
You had to check in so they could check that box.
Okay.
And I really didn't know what I wanted to do. Most of my friends were going off to four-year college, and I didn't know.
Right.
So as I'm walking into the guidance counselor's office, there was a bulletin board, cork board, and a goldenrod sheet of paper, the old flyer look, right? A spirit duplicator. Now I'm dating myself. And it had a drawing of a woman sitting at a steno machine with dollar signs around the top and 2 years under the bottom. And I thought, I'm in.
Yes. Yeah.
That looks good.
Yeah.
And I told them, I want to go into court reporting.
Right.
That's it.
Whatever the dollar signs are. That's
Whatever that is, looking good.
Yeah.
So I started at the Madison Junior Business College in Madison, Wisconsin.
Okay.
In 1978, and I had a paper writer and a lot of blue ink on my fingers. That was the only color that came out of that machine.
Oh, wow.
And the first day of class, my instructor said, I want you to all look around the room. In front of you, to the side of you, behind you. Only one of you will be here at the end of the course to graduate.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's so intimidating.
I was like, I'm not going to tell my mom and dad.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And we spent a lot of time learning how to write on the machine and learning the theory. And
yes.
They recommended that we sit in front of a soap opera, watch our TV soap operas. I didn't really watch soap operas. But I'll tell you, I was never going to achieve fast speeds watching soap operas.
No. That is true.
But you had to practice all the time.
Right.
So I completed all the coursework, and then I just was hitting the speeds, and I was at a rut, and I was 19. I just don't think that I was really ready to take on the responsibility of being a court reporter at that time. And I went on to a different path, and I worked at law firms. I did legal admin work. I worked at one law firm doing part-time work in the morning, and I took classes in the afternoon, and I was a nighttime secretary for Foley and Lardner in Madison.
Wow.
Because they couldn't get enough of the work done during the day, so they wanted somebody to come in from 4 till 9 p.m. at night.
Okay, wow. God, you were busy.
Yeah, I had to have something to do to keep busy. I mean, I wanted to be busy.
Yeah.
And I
right.
loved the legal field. It fascinated me.
Yeah.
And I loved working for attorneys who did estate law. And because estates and probate and divorce and family law, I think are the most interesting. You never know what's going to happen.
I know. And what's also an added interesting part to that is that so many people don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
Hollywood has just told us that you just write up a will and everything will be fine. And that's not how it works.
Yeah. I did, when I advanced in my career and I had my own business, eventually I did legal video, got that certification from the American Guild of Court Videographers.
Oh, I love a guild.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And I loved the equipment and the technology as it was developing. So I was working at a law firm, a small law firm, and they used this court commissioner for supplemental examinations, and he recorded things on a reel-to-reel recorder. What's
Okay.
reel-to-reel? It's actually still in the California statutes, which is kind of crazy.
That is.
But remember the old motion picture?
Yeah.
Those big reels that they put on? They feed it through. I was that AV person in high school, too.
Wow.
So fortunately, he was just about to advance from reel-to-reel recording to this new technology called cassette tape.
Yeah, that was some new tech back then.
Oh, my God. It's so cool. And then immediately, after that, there was the Sony BM246, which was a multi-channel recording deck, dual deck. You could plug 4 microphones into it, up to 8. You could record continuously, so you'd never have to interrupt to pop a tape and replace a tape. And I convinced him to purchase one of those machines. I used one of those machines for a long time. And then digital came along. And I thought, I want to get into that, because that's the next cool thing, right?
Yeah. And who doesn't want to be a part of those new exciting ventures?
Right, and it's technology. I just love the tech. So I started beta testing for one of the digital companies that came along, and it's for the record now. But I had this, like nagging in the back of my head of, I don't know if I really trust this digital technology.
Okay.
Because I can't see it recording.
Oh, right.
Like, how do I know what's going on in that computer, that new thing?
Yeah, I'm sure.
So I always kept my recorder running on the side so I could see the little spindles turning, because then I knew it's really working, right?
Right, yes. And that makes sense, because that's a real trepidation when you're not used to, the new tech.
Yeah.
You want to kind of have a backup plan.
Yeah, I do understand, because I suffered through it myself. Every time I was using a new camera. I went from VHS, where you'd have to put the VHS tape in a deck that you carried over your shoulder, and then there was a cord to a little tiny camera that you put on the tripod.
Yeah.
And then they built the VHS tape. You could put it right in the camera. It was a gigantic camera.
I remember those. They were massive.
Yeah.
It was so cumbersome.
I know, it was awful. But everybody was impressed because you had this big camera that you're coming in with.
Must be official.
Yeah, exactly. And then when they started buying big cameras at home, then the professional cameras started to go smaller.
Yeah.
And now you're recording on little tiny 8mm tapes, or even an SD card.
Yeah.
Or now you're getting into HD. It was like super cool. And I got to do some really cool things. I did day in the life videos of people who had been injured.
Oh yeah, those are heart-wrenching, but also really important. That's really good solid hard work to do.
I like that because I got to do something a little bit different.
Yeah.
And tell a story and be part of that. Because as a deposition reporter, I told people it's like reading chapter 12 of a book.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know what came before. I'm not really sure I understand what's going on.
Right, totally.
What happened?
I know, that's the worst part, is not knowing. Sometimes I really want to know, like, how did this end, who won or whatever.
But then you're on to the next chapter 12 book.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the day in the life is almost like a little documentary or something.
Yes.
And it's a human interest kind of a thing. So I could see how that would be very intriguing.
Yes.
So it feels like you have done a little bit of everything in this
I never
field,
said no.
which is awesome. That's such a testament to your character. That's really cool.
I think I was young enough and maybe a little naive enough, and my dad would say a little cocky enough to think, I'll figure it out.
No, I love that. You should be, right? Let's just take the bull by the horns.
When Wisconsin decided to do greyhound dog racing, they had public meetings all around the state of Wisconsin, and I was the reporter that got to travel with the commission to do all of the public meetings. And so people were very upset, and I was so glad that I had video and audio to record that, because it preserved a little bit of history for Wisconsin as well.
Yeah.
And I remember one time in particular, the only time I've been to a dog track, I was actually on the track. There were no dogs.
Uh-huh.
And it was before it opened, but they wanted to take all of the commissioners and some of the news people and make a transcript of what they were saying as we were walking along the track.
Okay, yeah.
And that was an instance where I thought, if I were a steno reporter, I don't think I could do this.
Oh, walking right? That would be a challenge for me. It would be. I mean, I don't know. There may be some stenos out there, but for me, I would definitely be.
I know that they have the equipment, like in the Senate hearings, where you can
put it around here.
Yeah,
you're right. They do actually. Yeah.
But we were outside. It was windy. There was a lot of people. So, but I really enjoyed doing something different like that.
Yeah, which is cool. I mean, who wouldn't want to have a little bit of life involved, right? And you're not just in the same room. I mean, you could see totally the pros to that for sure. So what I think is really fascinating is, I haven't only been reporting for 5 years. So my exposure into this world is very limited. And it seems to me that this digital reporting is this, brand new, came out of left field, surprising everybody. Who is this newcomer at our table? But in fact, that's not the case, right?
That is not the case. When I started in this industry, it was about 1981. And then 1993, I met two other individuals, sort of randomly back then because there was no internet and social media. And we started the association AAERT to create some standards and professional certification. That was the goal. And worked together for a year. And one of the things that happened the very first conference that we had in Las Vegas at the Debbie Reynolds Hotel.
Ooh.
Yeah. Just like 1 week after their whole staff went on strike. But,
oh, no.
Yeah. I met people who were retiring.
Yeah.
In electronic reporting from Hawaii, from Alaska, from where it was commonplace.
Yeah.
From actually California.
Which is, again, surprising, I think, for a lot of people, because that is not the message that a lot of people are hearing, you know?
The California members were the largest contingent of our organization when we first started.
Wow. And how about now?
Now, I would say there's still a lot of people from California that are members of our organization, but you can perform work remotely and you can live and work anywhere, and that's another beautiful thing about digital that people like.
Yeah.
And I think especially with remote, you know, when the pandemic happened, a lot of us had already been doing remote hearings anyway, so it didn't seem to be that big of a lift or challenge, because we'd already been doing that to some extent. Video conferencing was very common. I remember I used to go to Kinko's. They used to have video conferencing rooms, and that's where you would do remote
really?
proceedings.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. I had no idea that Kiko's had that.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, I've heard of people going to the library, which I think is kind of cool. But yeah, Kinko's, who knew?
Yeah, it was like a phone booth, video phone booth.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I've seen some things like that. You know, now a lot of people are doing those, like remote offices almost,
Yes.
right? Where satellite office or something, and then they have those like little phone booths, for lack of a better term. Yeah, how cool. That is just blows my mind with the kind of, you know, uproar that we have now, to hear that it's been around for, I mean, 50, 60 plus. If the people were retiring back then already,
right.
You know, it was such a long tenured career, and it's so interesting that we haven't really heard of it.
I did a presentation at one of our previous conventions on the history of electronic and digital reporting, but also just about using sound to record and preserve what people say.
Yeah.
Or one of the very early recordings was of Sitting Bull doing their chanting to preserve the native language and the native chanting, and it was a woman in Minnesota that recorded it on wax cylinders that are now at the Library of Congress. That was fascinating.
Monumentally fascinating. That is incredible. I had not heard of that.
The Supreme Court started, now getting into the courts and the legal side of things, the Supreme Court started recording their oral arguments in the 50s on reel-to-reel recording.
Wow. And why wouldn't they, right? Because, I mean, I had heard that reporters, you know, whatever, maybe let's call it the 80s, you know, they had to keep those papers in their basement or their garage or whatever for a certain amount of time, and then I'm like, who's paying the storage fees for this, right? Like, I can't imagine if every deposition transcript had to be stored. That's bonkers to me. I can't believe it. And then what happens if there's an earthquake or a flood or something, right? I mean, it makes so much sense to have it
Well,
recorded.
I think now, back when I had my office in my basement, and it was a very nice basement, but the walls were, my brother built these shelves that would hold 8mm tapes floor to ceiling, and they were covered with 8mm videos. And I think back now, I'm like, what happened if I had a flood?
Yeah.
You know, I only had one copy of the recording. I had audio recordings, but now I can save my recordings in 3 different places in the cloud and a couple of different hard drives and external drives and multiple copies everywhere. So I think what we're preserving now with our, you know, creating this incredible data, they, you know, often call it data lake, but the amount of data that we have stored just since digital came around is mind-boggling.
It really is, and it's so incredibly advanced, and it seems just like it just seems like every day, you know, we don't even really have the capacity, or at least I don't, to understand how much content is really out there, right?
Yeah.
And to think if we dug our heels in and said we're not going to take this on, you know, we'd really be doing a disservice. Somebody had said disservice earlier, and I think it's just a really eloquent, spot on kind of a word to use when we're comparing, the advancements and the capability and the ease and, workforce tools that we can
Well,
have.
we're so used to seeing video. We're used to being able to, right now, we're accustomed to being able to read it, see it, and hear it.
Yes.
And then link it,
Yeah.
That's really like the record of the future that we're seeing today.
Yeah.
Everything is in one folder and you have it all. You always have it all. Read it, see it,
Yeah.
listen to it, link it.
Yep. And it's so easy, right? It's that, not that the job itself is easy, but that tech has made it so convenient and so that, like you said, you could do it from anywhere,
Yeah.
which is something that, 20, 30 years ago would be completely unheard of. And that's
Star Wars.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
We used to call it the Jetsons.
Oh, yeah. The Jetsons just vacuuming. Oh,
Yeah.
my goodness. That's too
Well,
funny.
I think, what this is why it's so important. The pace of the change of technology now is so fast.
Yeah.
It's hard. If you haven't been keeping up with it somewhat, it's hard to wrap your head around what's happening now.
Yeah.
Because I look to the future. I'm near retirement age, and I see young people coming into this, and they pick up the technology so fast.
Yeah, they do.
And it's a bit intimidating even for me, because I'm used to it.
Right.
And I know that I can pick it up and I can figure it out. But if you can't just pick it up and figure it out because it's not intuitive, this is professional recording equipment and you're responsible to make sure that everything is there. And you can't just get the gist. You really, truly can hear every single person's every single word. That's your job.
Yeah.
So we do have at AAERT, a dedication to best practices for digital reporters who are going into this field to make sure they understand the technology, that they understand the changing technology and they're keeping up with it. They know what is required to make sure you have the highest quality recording. So you have a transcript that will generate a verbatim. You'll have a recording that will generate a verbatim transcript.
Yeah.
And there will not be inaudibles. In fact, you'll probably hear more than you cared to.
Right. I know what you mean. And I think that that's really a good thing to get out there because so many people have either literally no understanding of what we do or a misunderstanding of what we do. And so the certification is what AAERT does, right?
Correct.
So that in and of itself, I think, is invaluable because people, I don't think I could even go to a restaurant and, wait tables without some sort of a training, right? I mean, you got to be trained. You got to
Right.
have some kind of exposure and some kind of understanding of what's going on.
Yeah.
And perhaps people think that you don't, but it's not true. You really go in there and you are using the technology.
Yes.
It's not like you don't do anything, right? You have to actually be a part of it.
Well, being a court reporter isn't just about using technology. It's about being that person who's in charge of preserving the record.
Exactly.
It's about that person that you go to receive the record and record retention and security around that record and confidentiality and how do you handle it and exhibits, dealing with the public, dealing with the attorneys, helping to maintain decorum. There's a lot more to this job than just operating any type of software or hardware to preserve the record.
For sure.
It's a role that is so important, and we advocate that there's always a person, a certified trained individual who's in charge of making the record. And we hear all kinds of different titles that are used, but that's why we have certification for Certified Electronic Reporter, which is what it was originally called when we created the certification. We have the Certified Deposition Reporter. I always trip up on that. And the Certified Electronic Transcriber. And I have both. Actually, I have the CER, the CET, and I'm certified as a legal videographer because I wanted to use all forms so that you could see it, hear it, and read it, and link it.
Absolutely. And who wouldn't want that? You want all the tools in your toolbox so that you are able to do anything, right? That's the worst if somebody asks me, hey, can you do this? And I go, I can't, I don't know how, or I haven't been trained. I mean, it seems like everybody would want as many tools as they can have. And one of the cool things I think too about digital reporting is that for me, it took 1,000,000 years to get through school and a lot of money, And that doesn't have to be the case. We're finding now, we went, I think, from a time perhaps in the 50s where trades were what people were doing and then everybody got a degree in business or communications. And now we're kind of back to saying, hey, you should probably have a trade. You should probably know something. But you don't have to spend 4 years and hundreds of thousands of dollars to be a viable professional and have a noble career.
That's true. You don't have to spend that. But what's an interesting fact is that most of our members have completed their bachelor's degree just because that was the general path when people came out of high school.
Right.
You're going on to a 4-year college and you are getting a great education.
Totally.
And you can always take that education with you.
For sure.
I always wanted to get my 4-year degree, but I was always too busy developing my business, and I would take classes here and there. I finally did get my degree in 2013.
Congratulations!
Had a little midlife crisis, sold my business and went back to school. And I got my computer science degree because what I saw coming, I want to understand.
Yes.
And you don't need a computer science degree to understand the new technology that's coming, but I wanted to understand it at a different level. And the automatic speech recognition technology has been around since 1996. And we're only seeing it today being utilized in new products that, as you see, many of the vendors that are here today at our conference are building into their tool set. In fact, Stenograph, who is the company that is here and helps, with the STAR conferences and is my new employer, is promoting the speech engine that they've created right into the steno machine as well as part of a way to add value to the steno industry. To Check It is our new brand of product that will offer the stenographer a chance to improve, be faster, be more accurate. This isn't technology that's just for the digital recording market.
No,
It's for
absolutely
everybody.
not. It is. And let me tell you, it is fascinating. And I am so grateful to have that technology help me, because I don't want to be reading paper notes and typing it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That just seems so foreign and so far away from anything that I could imagine doing at this day and age. And so I have seen these things work, and I use Case Catalyst. I'm sure a lot of people do. It's it's a leader in our industry, and the software is phenomenal. To be fair, I can't believe that Word has not taken some of these tips and tricks. When I'm like, I have to move, I have to press the space bar to put a comma in, it doesn't know. That's just mind-boggling to me. It's great. I mean, from where we came, right? Paper and chiseling into stone, to here is wonderful. And I am a steno writer, and I cannot imagine not having this software help me do my job, my transcript production.
Sure.
It's marvelous.
So let me ask you this. You've been in this industry for 5 years.
Yes.
You've mastered the skill, which is an incredible skill. It really is. I tried to do it myself, and I understand it, but it just didn't click with me to get to that point, which is unfortunate for many, many people who want to go into this industry. So what do you think is next?
For me?
What's the next technology that is going to come to court reporting?
God, I can't even, honestly, I don't know if I could even really fathom the holograms.
That's here.
Really?
Yeah. So I just read the other day that I think it's at the, and needs to be fact checked, but the College of William and Mary, with the National Center for State Courts, has a high-tech courtroom there. And they, I believe it was there, used this screen behind the witness stand and had a witness appear by hologram.
Which is so cool.
Boom.
That is amazing. Okay, so that's already taken. What about teleportation? So,
Oh gosh, that
right?
would be.
Then I don't have to drive and park, and if they don't want to do remote, because some attorneys don't like to do remote, and we do whatever they want. They're our clients. That would be cool.
Okay, but you still have to do your hair.
Yeah. So you're right.
So
you're
that's
right.
one of the reasons we see a lot of people coming into this profession, even after they've had a 4-year degree, because they want the flexibility to work from home. Pre-pandemic,
Yeah.
and now post-pandemic, even more so. I can work from in the comfort of my home. I can be productive. I don't have to be locked in. I used to call myself a hostage in a chair because you couldn't leave until it was done.
Yeah.
But this way you can stop. You can have a pace, you can stand, you can go to the bathroom, you can have a drink, a beverage.
Yes, yes, an appropriate beverage.
Correct.
Yeah, I think that, and people were really hesitant when, the pandemic came, and then we started to see a lot of these Zoom depositions happening, and now those very people, you couldn't get them to go in person, which I think is a testament to saying,
Yeah.
give it a shot. You might be surprised at how cool it is and how much easier your life can be,
Well, it's nice to be in person with you today because I usually see you on Zoom calls.
Yes, we do. It is nice to see you. I always love these conventions because they're so positive, and I think that's just so necessary. In today's world, there's just such a need for positivity. There's just such a goodness drought, and it's really lovely to come and be a part of an organization that just wants everybody to succeed.
We do. We really do. And it's not just electronic and digital reporters. I mean, that is the method that our association is focused on. But we have people here who are current stenographers, we're voice writers, are voice writers. They aren't going to abandon what they're currently doing, but they want to learn more about how this technology works. Because sometimes it's available for them to use and they want to understand it.
Yes.
And it's just, know your competitor.
Yeah.
It's just about lifelong learning.
Absolutely.
Adding to your toolbox.
Yep.
And you might find with some of the products that we have at Stenograph that you can use the ASR technology and your CAT software combined together. We welcome all reporters, honestly. Always have at AAERT. You can use your CAT software if you want in order to take our exams. So I just find this to be a really welcoming environment, and people are not trying to tear each other up.
Absolutely not. And we are stronger together. And that's what this is all about. And that's what STAR is about. That's what AAT has been about. And I just feel really lucky to have your guidance and your wisdom and be able to learn from all of the very cool experiences you've had.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm glad to share because there's a very small community of people who even get it.
Totally.
And you have to be a reporter to get it. What we do, the dedication, the amount of time that we spend away from our families and our lives just creating transcripts because somebody needs it now.
Yes, I know, the expedite for sure. So that actually brings me to a good point because the sentiment out there is almost like the work is going to go away, and it's something that I try to talk to everybody about. The work is not going away. In fact, it's quite the opposite. And so we need those 18, 19-year-olds that really don't know what they want to do to come give it a shot. See what your career you could reach for the stars, right? You don't have any limitations in this industry.
Well, and I've seen this is a great second career too for people.
Totally.
And it's a career that you can always return to.
Yep.
If you do decide to step out, and I stepped out to go into management several years ago. I love the product development side of things and seeing it from a different angle. If I wanted to kick back after retirement and proofread transcripts, I could. I have a good friend who just left her court reporting program as an instructor. It closed, and she's out proofreading transcripts. And she said, I'm retired. I get to do the one thing I love doing. I get to do it at home on my own time.
Yep.
And she's fulfilled. And it's a skill you never lose.
Right. And it's just, like you said, invaluable in the sense that you are in charge and you can do it at any time in your life once you have that.
And it's not going away. When
Absolutely.
you see, we have one of the most litigious societies in the world. The need for records is only increasing, and not just in court reporting, but in everything.
Yeah.
Everything. Education. We want to see it, read it, and hear it, right?
Yeah, we do. We absolutely
Even
do.
if you're not sworn in.
Right. And we want it now, which is
now.
also another benefit, I think, to allowing technology to help you, because if I have to rely solely on reading back 300 pages in order to get this out to you tonight, I don't read that fast. I'm
Right.
sorry, but I can't get it out to you tonight. So I really do rely on my F8, and
Yeah.
I go to,
F8.
for those of you who don't know, that'll get you to your conflicts or your untrans. It's just a really helpful tool, right? And it's just another thing that we can use to make us more efficient.
Yeah.
And that's really what it's all about.
Yeah, some things work better for some people than others. Once you know all the tools, you can use what works best for you in the situation that you're in, and just don't limit yourself.
Right. Which I think is a really, really good thing to say at the end. Just don't limit yourself. And why would you? You don't have to.
Right. I think you can learn a lot more about this stuff at our STAR conferences that are coming up. and our AAERT conferences that will be coming up, and we're really looking forward to collaborating with all of you.
Yeah, same. We're super excited. So she is referencing the San Diego Coronado 2024 Star Convention in April. And then when's the next AAERT event?
I don't have a date for you yet.
Oh,
it
okay.
will be next year, and we're hoping it will be on the East Coast somewhere,
Ooh,
but
perfect.
to be determined.
Okay, lovely. So you just have to go to the website. What's the website for everybody?
Our website is aaert.org.
Perfect.
And also watch for virtual webinars and lots of more information. Lots of more information. You have to edit that out. Oh my God.
Check. Well, thank you so much for talking with me today, Janet. I really appreciate it. You have so much to offer.
So much fun. And I always enjoy talking with you, Deanna.
Ditto.
I'm glad you're in the profession.
Thank you so much. I hope you guys enjoyed our podcast today, and we'll see you next time.